Hey everyone and welcome back. So definitely have a couple announcements to get to today, but first off, I probably want to touch on probably the most obvious thing, which yes, I did finally get a haircut. It's actually been in the works for a while now. So we're just gonna play and do sort of a countdown until I finally got to my appointment, but then I sort of realized that my schedule changes and I can't keep that appointment. I didn't want to build up something that then doesn't happen. Now it's been a while since I've had it this short, so it's a little awkward. I'm still trying to find sort of how to restyle it now that it's a little bit shorter. But I just want to get that out of the way right off the bat. I know most of you don't care about my hair talk, so I'm going to leave it at that. But for those of you who don't know, I do sort of obsess over my hair. I am, I guess, a Leo in that way. But that is not why you guys are here, at least I assume not. So we got a couple announcements. We got a couple, let's see, two from Paramount, an update from Shout, it's not Scream Factory, it's Shout Studios. I'll get to that in a second. And then obviously we have the Arrow announcements for May, which still blows my mind that we're actually talking about stuff in May. Like studio stuff I understand, but for some reason I don't know, the Arrow ones I'm like, May already, wow. And then a quick news thing about Disney and physical media for them. But I'm actually going to save that for last just to kind of share some thoughts on that. So first up, I do want to get the Paramount ones out of the way first. So the first one coming May 14th, I think. May 14th is the Sergio Leone film Once Upon a Time in the West getting a 4K release, which is really awesome. Leone in 4K is really great. At least hopefully. It's like I know some of the other transfers of other films have been a little shaky, but hopefully this one is good. And it's porting over extras from their previous release, but I definitely want to go over the specs. So first up, it is getting a new 4K restoration of the extended 165-minute cut of the film. It's got a restored English mono soundtrack. Will be in Dolby Vision HDR. It does have two new extras, including an audio commentary by the host of the Spaghetti Western podcast, and then a look back with Leonard Maltin. And then it does port over previous extras, including the commentary track with John Carpenter, which is awesome, John Milius, and Alex Cox, which I think is so cool. Film historians Sir Christopher Frayling and Dr. Sheldon Hall, plus members of the cast and crew, and then a couple of extra things, including an opera of violence, The Wages of Sin, Something to Do with Death, Railroad Revolutionizing the West, Locations Then and Now, Still Gallery, plus a production gallery and the theatrical trailer. It does come with sort of this slightly deluxe packaging from Paramount. Retails for $39.99, but a lot of this stuff, really does kind of drop in price as we get closer to release date. But yeah, definitely wanted to mention that real quick. And then the other one from Paramount, which is the big one, which actually got announced a week ago, but it got announced literally, I think, at least when I saw it anyway, just as I finished editing last week's video. Otherwise, it would have been in last week. But I guess the only plus about waiting now is we actually do have all the details. And that is indeed, finally, the 4K release of The Crow. Now, I did mention in a previous video for a month ago or so, 2 months ago, so I can't remember, when I believe it was the cinematographer said that he was working on a new restoration for a 4K release. But now we have all the specs. So coming May 7th is indeed a long overdue 4K release of The Crow. And see, we have a new 4K restoration of the film, a couple of new extras, including, let's see, Shadows and Pain designing The Crow. It looks like 3 separate elements, including Angels All Fire, Birth of the Legend, On Hallowed Ground, The Outer Realm, and Twisted Wreckage, The Inside Spaces, as well as an interview with Edward R. Pressman on the Sideshow Collectibles, I think it's a 12-inch figure that they're doing of The Crow to celebrate its anniversary, which is kind of funny because it just says here, Sideshow Collectibles, an interview with Edward R. Pressman. It was kind of funny because I've gotten a lot of collectibles from Sideshow Collectibles, so at first I was like, wait, what? What's going on here? Anyway, and it also ports over extras from previous releases, but I think all these were on the DVD and Blu-ray release from before. So we're getting an audio commentary with director Alex Proyas, commentary with producer Jeff Most and screenwriter John Shirley, behind-the-scenes featurette, a profile on James O'Barr, some extended scenes including the arcade bombing, the Funboy fight, the shootout at Top Dollars, a deleted footage montage, as well as the original theatrical trailer. And there will be 2 versions coming out. Luckily, I'm pretty sure these are not exclusive, so there will be just a standard 4K release with, I believe, a retail price of $25.99, and then there'll be a steelbook release retailing, I think, for $30.99, which you can see right here. And as far as I know, this is not an exclusive, so I think you can I know this is up in Amazon right now, So it's not a steelbook that you have to chase down if that's indeed the way you want to go. But thank God we are finally getting The Crow in 4K and coming this May, which will be cool. So not too far out at this point. What are we, barely like, what, about 2.5 months out? You know, gosh. So definitely have my pre-order in. I decided to go with the steelbook just because I actually think it looks pretty cool. And then next up, moving over to Shout Studios, is their upcoming 4K release of Rolling Thunder has been detailed. Now this is one I'm really excited about. As I mentioned when the announcement happened, they have detailed it, and indeed, obviously it's porting over the extras from before, but they are including a couple of new extras. So it is getting a new 4K transfer from the original camera negative. We'll have the original mono soundtrack, and we'll have 2 new commentary tracks. First one was screenwriter novelist Haywood Gould and author film historian C. Courtney Joyner. And then another audio commentary track with filmmakers Jackson Stewart and Francis Galuppi. And then the rest of the extras will be on the included Blu-ray. So the 4K disc will only have the film, obviously, and the 2 commentary tracks. While the included Blu-ray will obviously have the film with the new transfer, the 2 commentary tracks, and then these other extras, including 2 new ones. The first one is Lean and Mean, the early films of John Flynn, an interview with author film historian C. Courtney Joyner, and Coming Home to War, scoring Rolling Thunder, an interview with composer Barry Dvorzin. And then the other extras, I'm pretty sure, are just ported over, including The Making of Rolling Thunder, featuring interviews with actors William Devane and Tommy Lee Jones, and writers Paul Schrader and Haywood Gould. Trailers from Hell filmmaker Eli Roth on Rolling Thunder. Theatrical trailer, TV spot, radio spots, and a still gallery. And that is set for April 23rd. Retails for $39.98. Obviously, it'll be cheaper, closer to release. So yeah, I'm excited about this one because, again, that being one of early releases, you know, it was using, even though it was decent, but it was using obviously a pre-existing HD master at the time. So I'm really happy it's getting a new transfer. And I'm actually glad that they are also adding a couple new extras as well. You know, so it doesn't feel like it's a full, like, just, you know, double dip just because it has a new transfer on it. So that's cool. And finally, we get to the Arrow May titles. So it's a little bit of a mishmash, so to speak, as far, which, I mean, they usually are. There's, you know, some that are US and Canada only, some are UK only, and then a couple of these I think are actually both, luckily. So what order do I want to do these in? Let's do this one first. So so this one is a US and Canada only Blu-ray title. So again, I'm going to assume that it is region A locked. And that is Sidney Lumet's film A Night Falls on Manhattan getting a Blu-ray release. Slated for May 7th, and let's see, that has a new 2K master from the original camera negative, has a 5.1 and 2.0 stereo track, plus a commentary track with Sidney Lumet, commentary with actors Andy Garcia and Ron Liebman, with producers Josh Kramer and Tom Mount, the director's series on Sidney Lumet. That was actually a cool series. This is a series I remember they did a couple ones like way back. What year was that? It's actually set, from 2002. God, was that long ago? I think I may even still have DVDs of a couple of those. Because like I think they did like John Carpenter and a couple other people. Anyway, moving on. On-set interviews with Lumet, Garcia, Dreyfuss, Olin, Holm, and Liebman. Behind the scenes footage, theatrical trailer, and TV spots. And the next one, let's see, which one should we do first? Let's do the other Blu-ray before we move on to the 4K titles. So next up, coming to the UK, US, and Canada, so we're all getting this one, is a Blu-ray release of the film Pandemonium. And I believe this is actually a more recent film, isn't it? Yeah, from last year, actually. So it's got a stereo and 5.1 French audio with English subtitles. And then different textures, a brand new interview with writer-director Quarks. I think it's how you pronounce that, Quarks? I'm just going to go with it. Tony the Monster, a brand new interview with writer-director Quarks and special makeup effects supervisor Olivier Alfonso. Filming a Real Birth, a brand new interview with writer-director Quarks, sharing a behind-the-scenes look at the filming of A Birth. Footage from the film's 2023 premiere in Paris. Making a featurette and the trailer. So I don't know anything about this film. I have to kind of look it up. So if you've seen this film, definitely let me know what you think. So moving on to the 4K titles. There's, I think, 3 4K titles here. First one is going to be US and Canada only. And this one will be a 4K release as well as a separate Blu-ray release. So just as a heads up on that. And that is Joe Carnahan's Narc, starring Jason Patric and Ray Liotta. So, and again, there'll be a 4K release and a Blu-ray release. It's got a brand new 4K transfer from the original camera negative, newly restored original stereo audio, as well as a Dolby Atmos track, an archival commentary with director Joe Carnahan and editor John Gilroy, a brand new introduction from director Joe Carnahan, And the 4K release will also include an extra Blu-ray. Blu-ray won't have the movie on it, it'll just have the rest of the extras. So the 4K disc will only have the movie and the commentary track and the introduction. So the Blu-ray with the extras will also have Shattering the Blue Line, a newly filmed interview with director Joe Carnahan, Shooting Narc, a newly interview with director of photography Alex Nepomniachtchi. Hope I pronounced that okay. If You Live Another Day, a new interview with actor Krista Bridges. The Journey of the Costume, a new interview with costume designer Gersha Phillips. Making the Deal, a vintage promotional featurette looking at the making of the film. The Visual Trip, a vintage featurette looking at the look of the film. The Friedkin Connection, a vintage featurette interviewing William Friedkin and discussing the connections between his body of work and Narc. Shooting Up, a vintage featurette looking at the making of the film, a vintage EPK, it's an electronic press kit, in case you didn't know, as well as a theatrical trailer and an image gallery. So that's a cool one coming out. Glad it's getting a 4K release. So let's see, next one, due out May 27th. Now this is going to be UK only, but it is a 4K release, and that is of the movie The Long Good Friday. I think this is a film that sort of like really made Bob Hoskins sort of like make his career kind of take off. So it's going to be in 4K, obviously. So it is going to have the original mono track as well as a new Dolby Atmos track. Have a commentary with director John McKenzie. Bloody Business, a documentary about the making of The Long Good Friday, including interviews with John McKenzie, stars Bob Hoskins, Helen Mirren, Pierce Brosnan, producer Barry Hansen, and cinematographer Phil Mayhew, I think. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but obviously it's must be an older thing because I think didn't Bob Hoskins pass away a couple years ago? If I'm wrong, I'll put a note, but I think he did. Hands Across the Ocean, a comparison of the differences between the UK and US soundtracks. Q&A with Bob Hoskins and John McKenzie. Interviews with Barry Hansen, Phil Mayhew, writers Barry Keefe, first assistant director Simon Hinckley, and assistant art director Carlotta Barrow. Plus original trailers. And again, that is a UK only title, but also have a Arrow exclusive cover, which I think might be the original one sheet, which you can see right here. So obviously for you in the UK, you definitely have an option as far as covers go. And then finally coming to the UK, US, and Canada, so we can all grab this one fairly easily, is a 4K release of Guillermo del Toro's Crimson Peak. Set for May 21st, it is going to be in one of their deluxe sets. I'm sure State of Release will come out down the line, but it is definitely pretty loaded. So as you can see here, it's got a 4K presentation approved by the director, the original 7.1 DTS X mix, as well as a 2.0 DTS Headphone X audio. That's interesting. I don't think I've seen that before. Commentary with Del Toro. The House is Alive, Constructing Crimson Peak, a feature-length documentary with cast and crew interviews and extensive behind-the-scenes footage. Spanish language interview with Del Toro. The Gothic Corridor, The Scullery, The Red Clay Mines, The Limbo Fog Set. 4 featurettes exploring different aspects of Allerdale Hall. A primer on Gothic romance. The director and stars talk about the key traits of Gothic romance. The light and dark of Crimson Peak. The cast and crew talk about the film's use of color. Hand-Tailored Gothic, a featurette on the film's striking costumes. A Living Thing, a look at the design, modeling, and construction of the Allerdale Hall sets. Beware of Crimson Peak, a walking tour around Allerdale Hall with Tom Hiddleston. Why am I having such a problem saying Allerdale? Jeez. Crimson Phantoms, a featurette on the film's Amazing Ghosts. Kim Newman on Crimson Peak and the Tradition of Gothic Romance, an interview with the author and critic. Violence and Beauty in Del Toro's Gothic Fairy Tale Films. Video essay by writer Kat Ellinger. Deleted scenes and image gallery, original trailers, and TV spots. And again, this is going to be one of their deluxe sets. So very cool that is getting a 4K release. So that sums up the Arrow titles for May. So definitely an interesting mix here. And of course, pretty soon we should find out what at least some of the titles that Vinegar Syndrome is going to have for May, because usually they do that like early pre-order thing. Obviously, you know, Scream Factory and a couple other places as well. So yeah, definitely a lot more announcements coming over the next couple weeks. So now we get to the interesting news with Disney. So if some of you are part of the Disney Movie Club, you probably got this email. So you already know what I'm going to mention. They made the announcement that they're actually going to close down their Disney Movie Club. Now, if you're not familiar with that, the Disney Movie Club was basically a way for Disney to offer physical releases of some movies that I think most of them at least never got released outside of the club. So that's why a lot of us kind of joined up, because it was the only way to get like Blu-ray releases, for example, of films like, what did I get initially? It was like Black Hole, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and like a couple other ones. But they're now getting rid of that club. In fact, I believe the last day you can order anything is like May 20th. I have to double check the date. I think it was May 20th. And then over the summer, that's it. Everything gets kind of shut down, and like you won't be able to do anything after that. But so it's interesting because it's like, I know Disney has kind of really talked about getting out of physical media for a while, which has been upsetting because of not only their own library, but also some of their other libraries as well, you know, because they also have Touchstone Pictures, for example, even though they licensed some of those out to Kino, but overall, a lot of those films never got physical releases, at least, you know, on Blu-ray anyway, let alone 4K. And then obviously the acquisition of like 20th Century Fox and things like that. It's like, it's kind of upsetting. You know, they want everyone to stream everything. But on the plus side, they, as far as I know, I don't know if this has been fully officially announced yet, but they apparently Sony is actually going to be the one that's going to release physical releases of Disney films. Now, I don't know how involved Sony is in this whole thing as far as like, you know, I don't know if they can like choose which films get released or not. My guess is no. I'm sure it's going to be a case where Disney is still going to be like, look, we want this film released on disc, so go ahead and you put it together and put it out there. So in essence, Sony, I think, is technically just going to be more just like a third-party distributor kind of thing. I don't think they're probably going to have much say. Maybe, I don't know, but maybe by going through Sony, though, I'm hoping that a lot of these other films will finally get released on disc. You know, again, a lot of like the Touchstone Pictures films. Wasn't Hollywood Pictures? Wasn't there one of their other companies as well? And then obviously, God, so much from 20th Century Fox, good lord. So I definitely wanted to mention that. It's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds over the next couple months, year even. I don't know how long some of that's going to turn over. Anyway, so that's it for this news video. I sort of threw in on everything in here. Got to figure out what is going on with my hair. I'm sorry, I shouldn't talk about my hair, but it's like I'm kind of preoccupied with it now because I need to figure out how to restyle it again. But yeah, so that's it for this video. Definitely let me know your thoughts on not these announcements, but also the weird thing with Disney. Let me know your thoughts on that. And as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.